Hello and welcome to Misfits on Vinyl. My name is Spencer Streichert. I'm an actor, comedian, and one of your tits.
My name is Aaron. I am an actor, comedian, and the other tit.
You are the other tit.
Yeah, and I'm neither an actor or a comedian.
You are an actor.
If you say so, my friend.
Man, you were one of the most talented actors that I know.
Thank you.
One time, we did a play where Aaron ripped his pants.
It's true.
Well, he was straddling me.
Yeah, it was. That was purposeful, actually. Like hulked open my cock hole for you.
It was such a weird show.
That was one of the weirdest shows we've ever done.
It was even worse because it wasn't like it was just a show. It was a show that was written to be a part of an orchestra.
Yes.
That this guy had like written, and this guy he asked the playwright to write some gay characters. And then he got mad that the gay characters kissed because it would make his old Chinese family uncomfortable. So he asked us to change it right before we opened, and we were like, no. and then right before the show started, there was one song that I guess went wrong, and he was freaking out backstage. He was like, "They're ruining my show!" And we were just like, "Oh shit, this guy's scary." And then nobody told me that there was going to be a song before our play started. So I just fucking walked out to start the show. And then I'm stuck on stage as this fucking 10-minute long song is going. And I just have to improvise as if I'm in the scene. And I'm just like throwing papers around and doing math. It was bad.
That's a hard improvisation for you two, doing math.
Dude, I can't even really do math.
I know. It's like, how do you pretend to do math when you don't even know? You don't even know the source material you're basing it off of.
Basing it off of.
Yeah. I have another secret. Now my list is back. Yeah, no, we're in a different setup now. I guess we should acknowledge our setup has changed. Spencer has rearranged his living room.
Yep.
We now have a dedicated podcast corner.
Yep, which I'm excited about. That means we don't have to move a lot of stuff. We just have to set things up, which is nice. I like that. It's going to be fun. We finally got our carpets cleaned after 3 years of living here.
Nice.
And now you do not see dog piss stains all over the carpet, which is quite nice.
Yeah, but there's a lot of human piss stains around on the carpet.
There will be more, too.
Yeah.
I feel like after we do a couple of double headers.
Yeah, do you know Logan Roy?
Logan Roy? No, I just know Logan.
Sam gets the reference.
I know Logan Paul.
No. Yeah, this is going to be a power move.
Yeah.
Or am I just losing it?
Do I have dementia, or am I pissing on my son's desk?
What?
Succession, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Fucking banger show.
Yeah, I haven't started watching it
It's
yet.
on the mind. I was watching it last night.
That's fair.
I had a bath and I watched like 3 episodes.
Nice.
Yeah, it was very relaxing.
That's such a Roy move.
It was very relaxing.
I fucking enjoy taking a bath and binging a show. I did a lot of baths during the pandemic.
I love a good bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Sarah buys all the fancy bath salts and the different smelling stuff, and she even gets me ones that are like more men orientated, so it's like a motorcycle bath bomb.
You put it in, you're like, as it's fucking bubbling around.
No,
There's a toy in the middle too.
There is.
Aaron's got a little boat to play with after.
It's the best. The bath toys are much needed. Yeah, no, I love a good bath.
You're fucking sitting in the bath. You're like,
yeah, dude. In between, I pause Succession to get a little playtime in. Yeah, making waves, moving back and forth in the bath, rocking the bath to make some waves for my boat, man. Those are the best. It's the best times. Okay, actually, I have a really funny story. I learned something about myself recently. I was spending time with family because it was a long weekend, and I was talking with my dad. I started talking about like how reckless of a child I was. So apparently I drowned, almost drowned like 2 or 3 times.
Really?
But the one time I was like maybe 3. And we were at a swimming pool.
This explains so much.
Yeah, we were at a swimming pool. And I didn't know how to swim. Like, I was like, I was a young child. But I walked over to the deep end, and like I saw my siblings swimming. I just fucking jumped in, and I sunk to the bottom of the fucking deep end. Right to the bottom. And apparently I wasn't even like trying to hold my breath. I was just intaking water. So one of our family friends came down and grabbed me. It like took me up, and then I just started violently puking everywhere. He was like holding me up like I'm Simba, and I was all in the fucking pool, everywhere in the pool. Yeah, but apparently I just jumped in and I sunk to the bottom. I just started intaking water. Like
You did everything like the body wants you to not do.
I was trying to speed run drowning, dude. So yeah, no, I don't know what the fuck that was all about, but yeah, I didn't know that story. Yeah, and then I don't know if you remember the TV show fucking Rescue Heroes.
No.
It was.
I will say this though, I did not know you were trying to join the Blue Man Group.
I used to love this show Rescue Heroes, and then our family friend saved us. I used to call him Berkey his last day. I was like, Berkey, you my rescue hero. And that's like one of 3 times I almost drowned. There's 2 other stories I almost drowned as well. One was at in Newfoundland. There's a like Olympic-sized swimming pool with diving boards called the Aquarina, which is an awesome fucking name.
That is a pretty sick name.
And
that sounds like you do battle in the water.
Yeah, apparently my mom was like changing my sister, and I was already changed, and I just took off out of the change room, and I was fucking in the bottom of the pool before she could even look for me, dude. Yeah. I don't know what was wrong with me when I was a child, but I had a fucking death wish.
Dude, you were just like, I don't want to fucking make it to adulthood.
Yeah.
The mermaids were calling out.
and then like some of the people there asked me, like, do you like swimming? I was like, no, I'm not really a strong swimmer, believe it or not. I'm not really a strong swimmer. I don't go swimming very often nowadays.
Yeah, I realized how much not of a strong swimmer I was in Victoria. 'Cause so I was walking around this like rock shelf looking for crabs because I like to fucking catch crabs when I'm on the beach.
Nice.
Which oddly enough you could do that in Banff too.
Mm-hmm.
But
the capital of
the
crabs.
capital of crabs. But I was like walking along these rocks, and then I stepped off, and fucking it was just like straight down, and I'm like, you know, like swimming, just kind of floating there. I was like, oh, I'll just swim back to shore instead of trying to get back onto the rocks and walking back, because that was uncomfortable and took a long time. And as I'm swimming, I swam away from the rocks to go like into the shore. And then I realized, holy fuck, I might not be able to make it. Like, I had that thought come in pretty quickly into my head where I was like, oh, I can't swim. This isn't good. And so I'm like doggy paddling, trying to fucking get back to shore. And man, I was really scared I might drown.
Yeah, I'm not a really good swimmer. No.
What a pathetic way to die too. If I'm like 28 years old and I just fucking drown, like 20 feet off the shore.
I could drown in a hot tub probably, dude. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, you get a little too many beers in you, you could just slide in the water.
Slip
there.
fucking under.
Yeah, all you gotta do is stand up, but you can't do it. Yeah. Sweaty and you're fucking drunk. Yeah, no, I could drown in a hot tub. Guaranteed. I guarantee that.
What do you think is worse though, drowning in a hot tub or drowning in a bathtub? Because a hot tub generally means you're doing better.
It's true. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, in theory, I mean, everybody's got a bath, but not everybody's got a hot tub.
Not everybody's got a hot tub.
Yeah, in theory, everybody has a bath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a shitty bath. It's only like this deep.
Yeah, that's what my bath used to be like in my place in Inglewood. It would cover up like your knee.
Yeah.
And I'd still sometimes sit in it. Like fucking.
Yeah. And then you do the thing where like you lay on your back and it like just pushes the water up over your chest, but just barely.
Yeah, you lay down and you stick your legs up in the air.
Just like a Mormon, sometimes you gotta soak. Sorry, I had to do the joke.
You had to do the joke. I appreciate it.
In all fairness, I do appreciate a good soak. Mm-hmm. Also, though, like, okay, I have a question about this because I've always wondered, how do they know that they're finished soaking? Like, is it just when you go soft?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, maybe you just sit there, you're soft, and then like you get hard. There's maybe waves.
I think
to
it's
it.
Like when you spend too long in the bath, everything gets like old man and wrinkly. I think that's
oh
that's
God,
what happens to your dick.
Your dick is just even more wrinkled.
You know, everything's like waterlogged. Like,
oh God.
Yeah.
You gotta pull out, but your wrinkles have like attached to her
your
lips.
Your dick looks like a tongue with trench mouth.
That is what my dick looks like.
Okay. Speaking of nasty things, you know what I fucking learned about Howie Mandel? Did you hear about this TikTok? I just saw some clip about it. It was old news.
Are we talking about the prolapsed anus?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I never knew about this.
Yeah,
I just learned about that.
Is this a symptom of COVID?
Yeah.
Iconic.
You know what's
fucking
really
boomer
funny too is
move
for a
at
dude that's
Central,
like
dude.
so germophobic, you would think he would not be,
No,
fucking-
he's not that germophobic. I've listened to his podcast. He talks about it. He's like, I hate how the media portrays me as this germaphobe. He's like, there's certain things that ick me, but I'm not that bad.
I heard he was pretty bad, and they make him look bad when he's on fucking America's Got Talent
They
and
ham
shit.
it up,
Yeah.
and he's talked about it. He's like, I just get paid so well, I'm not gonna tell them to stop.
That makes sense. And
He's like seems like a pretty big homie, honestly.
yeah. I mean, he'd be a bigger homie if he played more Canadian albums on the Canadian comedy station that fucking Just for Laughs bought, and then axed for a little while there where they were like, my favorite thing about that is his video where he's in his fucking mansion and he's trying to explain to Canadian comics why it's better that less of their tracks are being played on Sirius XM, and he's like, well, listen, before it used to be 100% Canadian content, but now it'll be 40%, and the other 60% will be American comics. And that was his explanation, and
Checks
everyone's
out.
like,
Yeah.
okay, fucking,
Makes
how
sense.
does that make us more money? Like, how is that better for us?
Speaking of Canadian comedy, I heard you were at the reopening of the Comedy Monday Night.
I was.
Yes.
I was at Now Modern Love, and I fucked it up at the end and said, thank you, Broken City, before I got off stage.
That's even better.
It was pretty funny. I will say, like, the inside looks really nice now.
It looks huge. It looks way bigger than it did before.
It does look bigger. It is, I would say, a little bit bigger. Did
they tear out the booths? It looked like it, but I couldn't.
They
get
tore out everything.
Okay.
They tore out the bathrooms. They tore out the bar, the stage.
Okay.
The fucking the raised part of the floor at the back is gone. Like everything. Like it was gutted.
That raised part needed to go anyway. The amount of times I tripped on that shit.
Yeah, I mean, like that part I definitely agree with. I feel like, here's what I'll say. There's a giant island bar in the middle now, which means right in front of the stage you probably have 6 or 7 tables, maybe at the most 10. So it feels weirder because like you're playing to the sides more than you are to the front because there's just way more people along the sides. I think for music it's probably a lot better than it was before, but for comedy it feels weird. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely maybe it's gonna take some getting used to, and like maybe it'll get better. And I mean, I'm always gonna fucking go back and do the room as much as I can because it's Comedy Monday Night. It's iconic. But it's weird how big the island bar is compared to like everything else in the room. Like they made that thing fucking massive. It kind of looks like a brown social house on the inside now. Which is like the one thing that I'll say I'm not the biggest fan of. That being said, I do like that when you walk around, your feet don't stick to the floor.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
Broken City had it charming. You could say it was a bit of a dump.
It was, yeah.
It was a lovable dump.
It was
but
a lovable
dive,
dump, but
yeah.
it was a dump. It was definitely, you know. I will say it was great for comedy though because of how close everyone was. Like you were like, you know, even when it was like an off night, people were still basically shoulder to shoulder, and like the tables were super close together. So you get a laugh, and it felt like a big laugh. And now you're like what would have felt like a big laugh before, you're now having to accept that it's going to be a bit of a smatter. You know what I mean? Like, because you're not getting the same infectiousness of like having people right beside each other. Like, it's weird because Tea House is a weird fucking layout for comedy, but Tea House is better because of the fact that people are so close together. Like, even though it's like L-shaped and kind of strange, everybody's still, you know, tables are right beside each other. So
yeah, when we saw your show at the Tea House, my only criticism, we were kind of far.
Yeah,
it was hard to see.
Yeah.
It was hard to see.
Oh yeah.
Especially because there was pillars in the way, and then when there wasn't pillars in the way, there's people sitting at the bar, so your view was blocked a little bit as well.
And that's like my criticism with that is for sure. But I would say sound wise, it sounds better.
Well, we heard everything pretty
Yeah.
crisply. I mean, there's a couple like really weird dive comedy venues in town. I know you used to do Vern's a lot.
Yeah.
I went to Vern's for the first time not too long ago.
I was about to say, talking about Broken City, like that dive might be gone, but we will always have Vern's. I feel like.
Yeah. I don't think Vern's will ever close.
No, it'll never close, and it will never change.
No.
Like that place will reek of cigarettes for the rest of days.
Oh yeah.
I kind of got a mothball smell when I went in there. That's what
Yeah, I guess it's mothballs. If you go there right when they open, it smells like cigarettes because you know they were smoking at the bar right before they opened.
The night. Yeah, it smells.
I can neither confirm nor deny this.
I can confirm it.
It smells. It smells and
I have no
tastes
attachment.
a little dusty. But yeah, I saw Marito Lopez there, and I saw Bobby Warner and Will Hannigan and all those guys there.
Yeah, that fucking show looked like it was a blast.
Yeah, I get fucking Marito like was pointing at me, and I forget the other guy's name, the tall fucking guy.
Jarrett?
Yeah.
Jarrett Campbell?
Yeah, he
fucking
was,
Jerry!
Yeah, he was like coming after me as well. Yeah, because I sat like right up in the front. Yeah.
Oh god. You know what's funny is like I would never sit in the front, not because I'd be afraid of comics fucking ripping on me, but more so that I'm like, if it happened, I don't know how I'd be able to take it as an audience member.
Yeah, I took it fine. He didn't say anything mean, but like there was this other fucking guy they wouldn't leave alone, like this smaller guy, and he was like kept calling him his son, and he's like my boy, like blah blah blah. And he's like, you want to make friends with that big guy over there? He's like, you guys have a sleepover, and then he pretended to be me. He's like, I'm only gonna fuck you in the ass a little bit, like just like yeah. And then Marito came after me too, yeah, a little bit. It was funny.
Marito's so we need to get Marito on the pod.
He's got insane energy, man. I was really impressed.
He's fucking he's wildly talented as well. Like he's somebody who could go up without a fucking plan, and I think it would be hilarious.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. It was a really good show, and they were just he was just coming back to Calgary for a bit, and it was had lots of good specific Calgary jokes.
Also, shout out to fucking Will Hannigan. Anybody in Edmonton, he's recording an album in the next couple of weeks, so get your tickets to go see that.
He's high school friends with my brother. That's why I ended up going to that show. Yeah,
shit,
yeah,
that's
they
so
used
cool.
to hang out together back in the day, so that's why we ended up going and watching the show.
Damn,
yeah,
that's so crazy. Yeah, I've only met Will a couple of times, but super fucking funny dude. My God, his comedy is funny.
Yeah, once we went to a house party and. With my brother and his friends, and somebody stole Will's shoes. Yeah, somebody just took his shoes. Yeah, so he just had to walk home in his socks.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, like the next day, he's like, "Where the fuck's my shoes?" Yeah, I don't remember if it was him or his friend. Somebody, it might have been Will, but yeah, they got their shoes stolen, and it was quite funny.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, we should probably get into.
Yeah, let's do the thing, eh?
All right, so. Every episode on Misfits on Vinyl, we do a special segment called Sam's Today in Music History.
Fuck that guy.
Oh, not this again.
In 1980. Oh, yeah, this is for July 12th.
I thought you were going to do more with the kazoo. No, that wasn't an invitation to. That was not an invitation to do more with the kazoo.
Today in Music History for July 12th. In 1980, Olivia Newton-John and ELO had the #1 UK single with Xanadu, taken from the film of the same name. It gave Olivia Newton-John her 3rd UK #1.
Nice.
In 2008, Rolling Stone Ronnie Wood left his wife of 23 years and moved in with an 18-year-old Russian cocktail waitress. Nice. Okay.
That sounds like the Rolling Stones.
Sounds like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. Shocker.
The 61-year-old dad of 4 had met the teenager while out drinking and had taken her away to his luxury pad in Ireland. That's so gross. Fucking. Okay, you know what I don't understand is like
she's 18, she can consent. Hey,
yeah, I get that, and like here's the thing though, like from her perspective, like I get that there's money involved, but you still have to fuck a 63-year-old man.
Yeah, it makes me think of fucking Big Daddy, and she's the Hooters girl's fucking the guy, the chef at Hooters or whatever.
Yeah,
like, his old wrinkly balls.
Dude, I fucking love that movie.
That's an underrated movie, man. That movie rules.
I would say like a lot of 90s Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, that one is really good, and it was before Lil Nicky. Lil Nicky's a fucking terrible movie.
Yeah, that's a bad one. The Waterboy, though.
Yeah.
Waterboy's good. Fucking Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Gilmore is probably my favorite Adam Sandler.
Wedding Singer.
Wedding Singer, that's another great one. Fucking
That's My Boy. That wasn't 90s though.
No, that's a late 2000s. I don't know.
Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, that's not a
2002.
Sandler movie though.
No, but
That's him starring, but he's amazing in it.
he's fucking amazing in it.
Yeah, and I was supposed to say Righteous Gemstones. What's the
Gems.
Uncut Gems?
Yeah.
Uncut Gems also fucks.
Uncut Jams.
8 Crazy
Jams.
Nights. 8 Crazy Nights.
That is actually a good.
That's a
Christmas movie,
fucking
too, yeah.
great one.
Yeah, no doubt. Hanukkah movie.
Happy Hanukkah, Chandler and Monica. I love that song where he just names all of the Jewish people. Okay, in 2003, saxophonist, composer, and arranger Benny Carter died at age 95. He worked with Miles Davis, Ella Fitzgerald, Ray Charles, and composed many TV themes, including Ironside and M Squad.
Nice.
All right. In 1954, 19-year-old Elvis Presley signed a recording contract with Sun Records. He also gave his final notice on his day job at the Crown Electric Company. I didn't know he worked at the electric company.
No.
That's pretty cool.
Anyways,
At the electric company.
He was an electric man.
Sam Phillips from Sun Records originally wanted to use the 19-year-old to make demos of songs meant for other artists, but soon realized that here was the man who could bridge the gap between white and black performers. Mm-hmm. Cool. In 1996, Smashing Pumpkins drummer Jimmy Chamberlain was charged with drug possession after the death of the band's keyboard player Jonathan Melvoin in his New York hotel room. Melvoin.
I didn't know that about Smashing Pumpkins.
I didn't either.
No, I know Billy Corgan.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we only really talk about him, but there's a weird history of, obviously in rock and roll in general, but that band has some weird drug stories.
I like when Billy Corgan talks about hanging out with the Chicago Bulls and Dennis Rodman. He's got some really great stories about hanging out with the late 90s Bulls and partying.
My favorite is the video of him on the roller coaster. Wee!
Yeah, the meme. Billy Corgan rides a roller coaster. Wee! We were in sync on that too, Sam. Fuck.
You guys harmonized.
Ooh, I got goosebumps. Shiver me timbers.
That gave me tickles in my butthole.
Ooh.
In 2019, Tarzega Oreo was arrested by police and remanded in custody for stalking former One Direction singer Harry Styles. The Spaniard had been sleeping on a bench near the London house owned by Styles and had been posting notes through his letterbox for over 2 months. Permission was granted for Styles to give evidence from behind a screen during the trial. So she didn't even get to meet him.
No, like
in
the
trial.
one outcome of this is like, okay, he'll be a witness. I gotta see him in court. No.
Oh,
What
to
a
be
bummer.
so lonely, man. To be so lonely. You got to stalk Harry Styles.
That's such a bummer. I feel bad for that person, honestly.
She spent a lot of nights late night talking to herself, I bet.
Yeah, she couldn't even stalk properly.
No.
All right. In 1962, Ray Charles was the #1 on the UK singles chart with Don Gibson, Penny Country Ballad, I Can't Stop Loving You. His only UK #1 was taken from his Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music album. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Releases on this day.
Let's go.
Kenny Loggins.
Ooh.
Night Watch in 1978.
Nice. Good yacht rock.
In 1986, and I think I have this album, Bananarama's True Confessions. 1994, Alice Cooper's The Last Temptation.
Nice.
Alice Cooper, I will say, probably one of the most fun performances to see live.
I've heard really good things about
He's
Alice
fucking
Cooper.
incredible. And he also, like, rotates with, like, his touring acts. Like, he'll fucking hire someone for a few years that he's like, this person's amazing, and then they'll get their own fucking deal, and he's like, yeah, fuck it, go off and do your own thing. Like the guitarist for Five Finger Death Punch, he had been like a session musician for years, toured with Alice Cooper for years after touring with Mandy Moore.
Nice.
And then Five Finger Death Punch was starting up, and he had been to a bunch of their shows, and they needed a new guitarist, and he was like, hey, can I go do this? And Alice Cooper was like, that sounds like a fucking great idea. Go do it, man. So yeah, seems like he's really good to his artists.
Yeah, that's nice.
In 1994, Marilyn Manson's Portrait of an American Family came out.
No comment.
Yeah, I don't really have a comment on Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson. No.
We got to name one cancelable person each episode, and he checks off like 7 boxes.
Yeah, we've already got through a couple. Yeah.
We already got the Alberta connection with him too. Fucking when he punched out that lady in a Denny's in Lethbridge.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, dude, it's on fucking video too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
The only thing I'll say about Marilyn Manson is it's actually more of a props to Rob Zombie, because in Toronto they were doing a double concert at the Bud Stage. And I went to go see it, and Marilyn Manson fucking flaked out. And then Rob Zombie did not just his own concert, but he did all of the Marilyn Manson songs too, which is still a fucking amazing.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's a 10 out of 10.
I would rather Rob Zombie cover Marilyn Manson than see
yeah.
Marilyn Manson.
Honestly, yeah. Like, as long as he doesn't make any more Munsters movies, I'm happy with whatever Rob Zombie does in his spare time.
You know what? I think that Rob Zombie, though, like, he's...
Whoa.
Bye, Taylor. Rob Zombie, I will say, I fucking love his filmmaking. Like, I love the House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects. Fucking Lords of Salem is an underrated fucking movie.
I know it's kind of hated in the community, but I am a fan of his Halloween movie.
I am too. You know what? It's not even his fault that movie, like, wasn't as well received. Like, it 100% came down to getting butchered in post-production.
Yeah.
Because he had way cooler ideas with that movie that just didn't get shown.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. All right, so every episode on Misfits on Vinyl, we review an album.
I can only, like, hold your foot. You're so far right.
Oh, God, I don't like that. I want to hold your hands. Could I tell you something?
Fucking stretch.
I think you'll understand when I say that something.
I want to hold your hand.
I want to hold your hand. I want to hold your hand. That's not what we're doing today.
No, that is not what we're doing today. Every episode we review an album. Sometimes it's one of our favorites. Sometimes it's a popular one. Sometimes it has the Venn diagram of crossover. And once in a while, it's a fucking Canadiana classic.
Yeah, I'm gonna intro this song because I know a lovely story about you and this band. This is a small, folk, not very well known Canadian group. They started at humble roots. Never really gained much traction.
Played in small bars just on the border towns in the U.S. Like, they never really made it big.
Yeah, none of the band really, saw the success that they deserved, especially with their unknown hit, Wheat Kings. So, for context, I wasn't here for this moment, but Spencer, we're doing the Tragically Hip. You can introduce the album.
You were here for this moment.
No, I was told the story by Siobhan.
No, you were there. It was you, me, Chad, Siobhan, and some guy that Chad was.
Oh
seeing.
yeah, I was
we were
there.
Having a
Yeah,
fire,
that's right.
And
yeah.
I was given permission to pick a song, and I said I'm gonna show you guys a song. I don't think you'll know it, and then I go on this fucking tangent, and then I played Wheat Kings by the Tragically Hip, and everyone was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? We all know this.
We all know this song."
So the band and the album, it's the Tragically Hip's 1992 album, Fully Completely.
Yes.
Which has Wheat Kings on it.
And Courage.
And 100th Meridian. And Fully Completely. And Locked in the Trunk of a Car. And various other tracks.
Yeah, this is a good album.
It's a really good album. This is actually, so let's get into it. It's the third studio album. It was released October 6th, 1992 by MCA Records. Producer Chris Sangards, who's best known for his work in heavy metal recording for Ozzy Osbourne, Sabbath, Exodus, Anvil, Thin Lizzy, and Judas Priest. And he also did some work with some pop-punk alt bands like Depeche Mode and fucking Concrete Blonde and Tom Jones. He amazing UK producer. He's known for a guitar recording technique called the Vortex, which he first used when recording guitar of John Goodsall for the Brand X album Moroccan Roll in 1977, which that's a fucking great name for an album.
Moroccan Roll. Yeah, I was about to say that's fucking awesome.
But he later refined the technique, which gives the recording a random panning effect similar to a reverb, but obtained through a particular placement of microphones. So he produced the album. While the albums before had been successful in Canada, the Hip had not broken into the American market yet. So Hip guitarist Rob Baker later voiced the opinion that collaborating with the same producer on multiple projects, like the Hip had done with their first 2 albums, had become troublesome because little politics and intrigues entered into things. In 92, producer Chris Sangarids, we'll get there.
Chris Sangria.
Chris Sangria. He had just completed production on an album by Concrete Blonde and was eager to work with the Hip. MCA, who was responsible for the financial success of the album, favored him because of his proven ability to generate American radio-friendly sounds with Ozzy and Sabbath and Exodus. Like he was good at and Judas Priest and Thin Lizzy. He was able to like make these bands popular in the U.S.
Yeah,
because he fucking had an ear for it. During production of the second album, singer Gord Downie had announced that he would no longer sing lyrics written by other members of the band, and Fully Completely was the first album that would follow this decision.
interesting.
I would also say like there were some great songs on the previous albums, but when I looked into it, the great songs from the previous albums were all written by Gord Downie. So I feel like this was where the Hip kind of became the Hip.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of known for their lyricism. He's known for his poetry, for his way with words. It's, you know, but
incorporating crazy Canadian history into shit where you're just like, what? Where did this come from?
That's why they're like, you know, so they have such a big hold on Canadians because they talk about Canadian life in such a perfect way.
Yeah.
They talk about being Canadian, the things that make being Canadian unique and growing up in Canada unique.
And they cover every demographic. They cover all aspects of history. They go fucking brutally honest with their lyrics. And it's something that realistically should not get a lot of airplay in the US. But it gets a lot of airplay here because people connect with the music. They connect with the lyrics.
Even when we were living in Toronto, man, like the like you listen to like fucking Bob Cajun, dude. There's I forget the name of the bar that's got the fucking checkerboard floors, but we went there. We saw a concert there when he came and visited. It's on Queen Street. We went to this bar.
With the checkerboard floors, riding on horseback.
I came and met you there.
Oh yeah, no, I literally
I
was like, "What are you talking about?" Because I literally just heard music playing. I walked in and paid cover and watched. Like,
I forget the name of the bar, but
was that the Horseshoe Tavern?
It is the Horseshoe
Tavern.
Tavern.
So that's where they performed their first concert in Toronto.
Yeah,
which is super random fun fact.
And then he talks about I know the song's not on the album, but he talks about the riots in Christie Pitts Park. And like there's all little things, Canadian things.
They talk about the fucking Toronto Hurricane in one of their songs. What a fucking wild thing, you know? Yeah. Okay, so this album was not recorded in Canada, though. It was recorded at Battery Studios in London, England. And in contrast to the band's first 2 albums, production techniques did not try to mimic what the band was performing on stage. Each track was built instrument by instrument over the course of 5 weeks, with only 3 days dedicated to vocals. What's super funny about that is that, that obviously is a technique that was being used for probably at that point 20 years, where they would layer instruments in post, you know? But what I think is funny is that their first 2 albums, they were really trying to capture like what their live performance was. And there's no real good way to capture live performance in any way. Like I'm saying this as somebody who has recorded multiple live performances for albums. It's never the fucking same. No. There's never a way that you can get that same energy, that same fucking feeling that you're getting in the room. It's just not. It's just not possible.
The only one I would argue would be the Talking Heads.
There's some pretty amazing live albums I could
There's
think
some
of.
good live albums, but there's still...
King Gizzard's live albums always feel amazing.
Yeah.
And they capture it really well because they always bring out more instrument players.
But I would also say this. They're still not as good as actually being there.
Yeah, but you're also talking about trying to get a live sound in studio. Not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much recording a live album, like getting a live sound in studio. So it's a little different than
like if you're
doing something live.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're doing it live with an audience, that you can get it, but it's still not like when you're in the studio though, next to fucking impossible because the energy is just not going to be the same. But anyways, so so the band expected recording in London to be a grand experience, but had mixed experience upon arriving. Some band members found that the nights and weekend outside the studio to be dull and isolating, which is a perfect descriptor for England. The band has described the making of the album as being about us wanting to learn. The art budget for the album was $30,000, with the total budget for the album being an estimated $185,000 back in 1992. So not adjusting for inflation or anything. So pretty fucking big budget, especially that art budget for the album. That is pretty high. The cover art was designed by Dutch artist Levine Prins. Prins was given the idea of a Bucklanian sort of scene, lots of decadence, decay, and rebirth by hip guitarist Rob Baker, and was left to work with the idea. Prins also drew inspiration from I Ching symbols and numbers. The final artwork was created using a Canon color photocopier, and the cover consists of 30 segmented photocopied images pasted together. Now, Prins actually owns the artwork still. So he's still allowed to do whatever. And the Hip but in the late 90s, the Hip bought the piece from a gallery in Los Angeles, and it now hangs in their studio near Kingston, Ontario, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, it's a cool album cover.
Now, speaking about the themes in this album, because we gotta talk about a lot of these songs have fucking real issues involved. So lyrics on Fully Completely are centered heavily on Canadian icons and history. Writer Rob Mitchell has described the album as a trippy Canadiana dream and nightmare, like the Odyssey directed by Adam Egyon. The title of the first track on the album, Courage for Hugh MacLean, makes references to Canadian author Hugh MacLean and was inspired by his novel The Watch That Ends the Night. The second track, Looking for a Place to Happen, deals with subjects of European encroachment and the eventual annexation of indigenous lands in North America, and makes specific references to explorer Jacques Cartier.
Jacques Cartier.
Mm-hmm. The third track, At the 100th Meridian, references the line of longitude that separates much of Western Canada from the Central and Atlantic regions. The ninth track, 50 Mission Cap, refers to the life, career, and death of Toronto Maple Leafs player Bill Barilko, as well as 50 mission caps, which were provided to elite bomber pilots of the Allied forces during World War II. And my favorite fucking track on the album, my favorite hip track of all time, Wheat Kings, tells the story of one of Canada's darkest moments as a 17-year-old David Milgaard was wrongly convicted of the brutal and murder of 21-year-old Gail Miller. Through a shady conviction, he served 23 years in prison before being released in 92 after a retrial. He was released in 92 when the Supreme Court of Canada overturned his conviction, and in 1997 he was fully exonerated through DNA test results.
Wow.
Fucking insane it would take that long, but how many people do you think are fucking going through that still?
Well,
you know?
or have gone through it, or have gone through it. Yeah, I mean, that's nuts. I mean, that's one of the things, like we said, like they talk about very specific, unique Canadian stories. They tell they tell stories that outside of Canada, people wouldn't know about, right? Yeah.
And I think that it's safe to say Canada has, an interesting bunch of history. Interesting, and there's specific history in Canada that I think is very interesting that doesn't get as much recognition as American history. And I think part of that is because of per capita. There's a bigger population in the U.S. More shit happens there. There's crazier shit to a certain extent.
They're also like a cultural center
Yeah,
piece of the
yeah,
world. That's
that's what I
kind
was
of
about
where
to say.
if anything happens in the U.S., I mean, it becomes a big thing. But I mean, Canada has often been ahead of the curve on certain things.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to gay marriage and things like that, Canada was way ahead of the U.S., but it got so much more attention
When it happened in the U.S.
Yeah.
Which is fucking
It
crazy.
was like 2002 here, I think.
2006.
2006
Yeah,
here?
the vote started at 05, and then everything was finalized 06, and then 2013 in the U.S.
Yeah.
We were ahead by 7 years.
Almost ahead by a century.
Almost ahead by a century.
All
All
Not
right.
really, though.
Now, let's get into the about the artist here. Formed in Kingston, Ontario in 1984, consisting of vocalist Gord Downey, guitarist Paul Langlols, guitarist Rob Baker, formerly Bobby Baker until 1994, bassist Gord Sinclair. They had two Gords in the band.
It's very
and
Canadian.
Drummer Johnny Fay. I know, right?
Yeah.
I bet they were both fucking named after a hockey player too.
Yeah.
100%.
Or
Probably
Gordon
the same
Lightfoot.
one.
Yeah, probably the same one.
Or Gordon Lightfoot.
yeah,
Or-
Lightfoot.
oh yeah,
R.I.P.
could be. R.I.P. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking that was recent.
Yes.
That is recent Canadian history. Sundown.
Gord. Oh, Gord.
Gord.
Oh, hey, Gord.
Gord.
But I'd say more than likely Gordie Howe. I
Probably
would
Gordie
say,
Howe.
Yeah.
Probably Gordie Howe.
I was gonna say.
So KCVI variety show was a variety show at Queen's University, and which university?
It's
Fuck.
Queens.
Is it Queens?
Yeah,
Okay,
Queens is in Kingston.
They performed there on a show as the Rodents. Thank God they changed that name. And they used to play at some of the places on campus like Clark Hall Pub and Elfie's. So in 1986, guitarist Paul Langlols joined the band, and then saxophonist Davis Manning left that same year. And that was the year that they changed the name to the Tragically Hip, which was named after a skit from Michael Nesmith's movie Elephant Parts.
Nice. I like Kingston. I don't know if you've ever been. Kingston's a great town.
I have not been to Kingston.
It's really it's weirdly like lots of towns in Ontario. It's very historical. They have old buildings and shit like that. It's a nice town.
I do dig the architecture out east. There's some fucking really cool buildings out east.
It's a nice town. Yeah, I ate at a Irish pub there. It was good. I had curry chips.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that sounds delicious.
It was delicious.
Especially from an Irish pub.
like they have the British food is so funny. I saw this meme about it the other day. Sorry to go off topic.
No.
But it was like, why do British people still eat like the Germans are bombing? And this guy was like, fucking, he had fries and then he had mushy peas, curry. It's like, yeah, why do they still eat like the fucking Germans are bombing?
I don't know. It's weird for a country that fucking colonized everywhere to try and get spices. They never fucking took those
I know,
home.
they don't use
know?
them. Yeah,
They never use a single spice.
They took the tea home. Yeah.
Okay, so by the mid-'80s, they were performing in small music venues across Ontario until being seen by then MCA Vice President Bruce Dickinson at the Horseshoe Tavern.
There you go.
Horseshoe Tavern, baby! They were signed to a long-term contract with MCA, and they recorded the EP, The Tragically Hip, which was released in 1987. It produced two singles, Small Town Bring Down and Highway Girl. They followed that up with 1989's Up to Here. The album produced four singles, Blow It High Dough, New Orleans is Sinking, Boots Are Hearts, and 38 Years Old. All four of those were hits in Canada. Fucking 38 Years Old is another great fucking track that references Canadian history without getting too fucking into the details, you know? They followed that album up with Road Apples in 1991, producing three singles, Little Bones, Twist My Arm, and Three Pistols. It reached number one on the Canadian record charts.
Also, the documentary about the Tragically Hip is named after one of the singles long time running
Really?
from that album.
Oh, that's
Which is
super cool.
personally my favorite hip song. It's so beautiful.
You know what? It's funny because I feel like you talk to any Canadian, they have a favorite Tragically hip song.
Everybody has a hip song.
Everyone has a hip song.
That is uniquely Canadian.
That is very uniquely Canadian. There's not a single person in this country who can't name at least 5 hip songs.
You're not wrong.
Like, and everyone has a favorite. And there might be a lot of people who have the favorite that is one of the radio, highlights. But everybody has a favorite hip song. Okay, so originally they were gonna name Road Apples as Saskadelphia. That was gonna be the original name of that album.
And they don't like that.
I know. I'm not a huge fan of that, but they did have 6 songs that were unreleased from that, and then in 2021 they released an EP titled Saskadelphia, which had been the working title. On the streets of Saskadelphia.
Oh, na, 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 na. I love that Tom Hanks movie, Saskadelphia, dude. Great fucking movie. It's about this farmer in fucking Estevan.
Estevan's on the opposite side of the province.
I know, but he catches this disease, dude, and he's got to go to Saskadelphia, man.
He's actually got mesothelioma from fucking dealing with asbestos in buildings in the 70s.
He's got to go to Saskadelphia.
His lawyer is an indigenous person. There's a whole theme there about the racism between the farmer and the indigenous lawyer.
And then Monsanto shows up.
Oh shit. Yeah, we own your farm now.
Okay, listen, I know that this is not what we do, but man, that should be a movie that we write, because that would be a fucking amazing movie. Okay, so although the band had failed to get significant international attention with their first 2 albums, they were absolute rock stars in Canada by this point. Then they did Fully Completely, which came out in 92. After that, they recorded Day for Night and then released it in 1994. It produced 6 singles, including Nautical Disaster and Grace 2. Trouble at the Hen House followed in 1996, producing 5 singles, starting with Ahead by a Century, which reached number 1 on the RPM Canadian Singles Charts. Butts Wigglin', the 5th single from Hen House, also appeared on the soundtrack to the Kids in the Hall movie Brain Candy.
Nice.
Which is, honest to God, one of the, that's such a great Canadian crossover right there. But it's not the only one with the hip with a Canadian comedy crossover.
I know what you were going to say.
Yeah, they had a music video in 2003 or 2004 that featured the Trailer Park Boys, and it's basically a fucking short film, like a short Trailer Park Boys movie. It's amazing. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you check this out, because Gord Downey is hilarious in it.
It's also in the movie. I think Bob Cage's in the movie.
Bob Cajun and 38 Years Old are both in the movie.
Yeah, they're playing. They're like the ball. It's at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Bob Cajun plays. They're playing fucking ball hockey.
Fucking Bubbles is playing with his kitties. And
and Ricky's got his lunch tray blocker, and he's like.
While we're on the topic of crossovers, they also have a cameo in Corner Gas. Like the whole hip show up and they're like talking about how dumb the town is or something, and then they get scurried off. They're like, "Get out of here," or something like that. Don't talk shit about our town.
Corner Gas, another fucking oh my god.
Man, I think that was the bit, but maybe it was a different bit. But they were in it for sure.
I gotta say, Canadian comedy, there was a great time between 2004 and 2007 when we had Trailer Park Boys, Corner Gas, Kenny versus Spenny, Little Mosque on the Prairie, fucking Royal Canadian Air Force was still around. We had This Hour is 22 Minutes was fucking great around that time.
Prime,
yeah,
Rick
22
Mercer
minutes.
Report.
I was about to say that, right at the end of that was when Rick Mercer Report spun off. And that's another just amazing show.
So honestly, if you want to look at Canadian comedy history, I know a lot of people talk about Kids in the Hall and SCTV, but man, in terms of hitting every fucking market and also revolutionizing certain aspects of comedy television around that time.
My uncle was on Rick Mercer Report. Fun fact, full segment with him.
Really?
Yeah, he used to do the boats on the police boats on the Ontario or the lake in Toronto or whatever. I don't.
Oh, Lake Ontario, yeah.
Yeah, that was Lake Ontario. He does all that, and they did like an ice boat episode, and him and Rick Mercer just shot the shit so well.
Yeah,
it's
oh,
a
that's
good,
awesome.
it's a good segment
For guys our age, well, people our age, those that were into Canadian TV, those were the shows to watch back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Corner Gas still plays on CTV comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like repeats all the time.
And also, 2 of those shows had animated series spin-offs
Yeah,
later
I
on.
also had a friend. I didn't know them too well, but this guy I knew was the head animator for the Corner Gas.
Really?
No, he did head animation for Trailer Park Boys.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's really fucking
That's
cool.
rad.
Also, fun fact: friend of the show, Kaylee Riggett's dad, Andrew Riggett, was a writer on Corner Gas.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he also wrote he was one of 3 writers on the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he won multiple Gemini Awards for Corner Gas.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's really rad.
Okay, so around that time, the band developed a unique sound and ethos, leaving behind its earlier blues influence. Gord Downey's vocal style changed while the band experimented with song structures and chord progression. This was around the time that they ended up on SNL. Now, I don't know if you've seen the video of them on SNL. It's kind of funny because Gord Downey looks like fucking Jim Parsons on Big Bang Theory in it. Like, he really does. But they sang Nautical Disaster, and the only reason that they even got to do it was because Dan Aykroyd campaigned so fucking hard to Lorne Michaels to get them on SNL. That is the biggest stage that they, or like international stage that they were able to play on too, which is insane. Like in terms of like a broadcast. Which is wild because they're so good. I don't understand. Like, I get that, like, you know, there's the whole element of that they are so Canadian, but at the same time, things that are so fucking American blow up everywhere. And for some reason, the Tragically Hip just didn't have that same success.
I'm happy to gatekeep this one.
Let's
keep it
Lorne
Canadian.
Michaels Canadian?
He is Canadian.
Yeah, you should start doing more stuff for Canadians.
He yeah.
He did for a while.
He did for a while.
Yeah, Martin Short and Mike Myers and Dan Aykroyd. And,
Yep, and the whole Kids in the Hall.
Yeah, Kids in the Hall.
And you know what's funny too is like the Kids in the Hall started as the Kids in the Hall. A couple of them wrote on Saturday Night Live in the late 80s. Then they did Kids in the Hall, and then after Brain Candy, a couple of them went to Saturday Night Live again to be featured players. Yeah, which is wild. Like, that's a weird progression in terms of like Mark McKinney, for instance. He was a writer. Then when they did Kids in the Hall for like the 6 or 7 years that they were a troupe on TV. After that, he was then a featured player on SNL.
Because I know in like the late 90s, early 2000s, they were getting a lot of their people from the Chicago area,
Chicago and LA.
Yeah,
LA groundlings around the 2000s, because that was Will Ferrell and a bunch of those guys. Yeah, they really don't give a fuck about Canadians anymore.
Yeah, I know.
and it's funny because in 2014 they launched an SNL, a Canadian SNL. But it was French Canadian SNL, so it was in Montreal. They only ran for 2 seasons, and a lot of the sketches were actually just French versions of sketches they had already done on SNL.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking lame.
I didn't know about that. That's fucking lame.
It is very lame. And so there wasn't really like there wasn't the Canadian influence on it. Like, I feel like that would have been more popular had they been writing more of their own shit instead of just being like, all right, we're doing fucking Matt Foley, but in French. Like, je suis
l'automobile
river
rivière sans la rivière.
Okay, so going forward a bit, in 1999, the Hip played their first concert at the brand new Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Ontario. In July of 99, the band was part of the lineup for Woodstock 99, and they opened the second day. They were the first band on that stage, and they were followed by Kid Rock.
There's so many Canadian flags when you watch the video of them playing there. There's so many Canadians there that didn't take part of any of the bad stuff that happened.
Canadians do not riot unless they're from Vancouver.
Yeah, that's true. Unless they lose the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, then they fucking riot.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny watching that video. Like you said, there's so many Canadian flags out there, but it's like a sea of red. It's fucking insane looking at that footage.
It's like it's a Flames game.
It's
a
like
sea of
Flames
red.
Game, sea of red. Oh. Okay, 2000 saw the release of Music at Work, which won the 2001 Juno Award for Best Rock Album. The album features backup vocals from Julie Doran on a number of the tracks and reached number 1 on the Canadian Billboard charts. At the 92nd Grey Cup held on November 21st, 2004, they were the halftime show. It took place at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. Around this time was the Trailer Park Boys music video, like I mentioned. Then in October of 2005, several radio stations temporarily stopped playing New Orleans is Sinking out of sensitivity towards the victims of Hurricane Katrina, which had devastated the city in early September of that year. However, it received considerable pirate radio and relief site play and gained notoriety and praise in New Orleans due to its attitudinal proximity to the city's culture.
Nice.
And because they were literally talking about the shit that was going to fucking happen in that, which is kind of crazy. Okay, so then in December of 2015, we're jumping forward here, Gord Downie was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. The band announced his diagnosis on May 24th, 2016. They also announced that despite his condition, they would tour that summer. They released their 13th album, Man, Machine, Poem, on June 17th of 2016. And it featured songs such as In a Word Possessed by the Human Mind, In Sarnia, and Machine. I've been to Sarnia. Do not recommend.
No.
I do recommend the song, however.
I recommend the song. I do not recommend the place. I'll say this about Sarnia. So I one time when I was living in Toronto, before you had moved out there, like a month before, I got cast in a movie that was shooting in Sarnia. And so I had to go out there. I took the train out there, which, you know what? I'll say this. It was fucking cool being on the train going through all these places. And you see all these picturesque towns, you know, Stratford, Ontario. You go through London, and then it just starts to get bad, and then you get to Sarnia, and you're like, ugh, this is swift current. This is fucking. This is gross.
Yeah, London's like the last town you want to stop in.
Yeah, it's literally the last stop before it gets bad.
I say that because that's where my family's from.
I've never been to Sarnia.
It's a border town. The river is what separates it from Michigan.
It sounds like hernia, so it doesn't sound like fun.
It is just as shitty.
Yeah.
there was one thing that was funny about it though, is I was in a hotel. Like they put us up in hotels, and I went out for a smoke in the middle of the night, and this old lady came up to me, and she was like with a walker. She's like, "Do you mind lighting my joint for me?" And I was like, "Okay." So I lit her a joint, and then we just smoked a joint, me and this old fucking granny. It was great. It was amazing.
That's a good memory.
It was a good memory. It was a good time.
Shout out to Sarnia grandma.
Shout out to the Sarnia grandma. Okay, so the final concert of Man Machine Poem Tour was held at Rogers K-Rock Center in the band's hometown of Kingston on August 20th, 2016. The concert was aired by the CBC on a cross-platform broadcast on CBC TV, Radio 1, Radio 2, CBC Music, and YouTube. The concert featured 30 songs and 3 encore sets.
It was pretty amazing. Did you guys watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that shit live. Like, that was amazing.
It was amazing. And you watch him literally give his all that whole show, but the very last song is just so heartbreaking because he takes his time with it.
Yeah,
Really,
it was very emotional.
very emotional. What I will say, though, is why 3 encore sets?
He didn't want to let go. Have you guys watched the documentary about their last tour?
No.
I have it on Blu-ray. I'll give it to you guys. It's really worth a watch.
Yeah.
They dive into a lot of those like emotions and everything of like he didn't want to get off that stage. Like when he walked off, the video of him just like sobbing after is like pretty sad.
I mean, he died pretty shortly after.
Yeah,
it was a year after.
Yeah, and I remember because that documentary was supposed to come out in November, and then he passed away in September. And
he passed away in October.
So yeah, I remember it was like a month before after he died, it was supposed to come out. But when he died, they just released it on CBC for free. And the whole day, that documentary just played on repeat.
Which honestly, that is the most Canadian broadcasting. I love it.
Yeah.
You know what? Play Gord Downie 24/7.
It's an amazing doc. The other heartbreaking moment in that doc is his doctor. They interview him, and his doctor talks about like when he got the results for like the cancer, and he's like, I have to be the one to tell him, and like I can't believe it. I used to listen to him growing up, and now I have to tell him like, you're terminal.
Fuck.
And like it's a pretty heavy moment.
But you know what I will say is like I think that there's some times in life where you're given the amount of time that you need, and I think that him being given that terminal diagnosis, he was able to do the tour, and then he had a whole fucking 13 months after the tour finished.
Like he had a good little swan song.
Yeah.
I don't know how much else we have in the stock, but the other thing I remember is like he had brain surgery. If we cover that in the doc, like he was missing a good chunk of his brain for this tour, and they show like his first rehearsal as well, and how he couldn't even speak. Like he didn't know the words to his own songs, and he like starts crying in the rehearsal.
Yeah.
They take like a break, and then it just comes back to him. And it's such a magical moment.
It is fucking very magical that like he's able to do that. But I like I said, I think he was given the right amount of time to, like you said, have a swan song, but also so that like Canada could say goodbye. You know, like he did a lot for the country, not just within his music. Like he was such an advocate for Indigenous rights and for like literally just working class Canadians in general. He was fucking such an advocate for Canadians. He cared about the country. So on June 15th, 2017, all 5 members of the Tragically Hip were announced as recipients of the Order of Canada by the Governor General, David Johnston. Downey received his honor on June 19th. The other 4 members were invested into the hall on November 17th of that year. The band and the tour were the subject of Jennifer Bockwall. Jennifer Bockwall, yeah, I got it. Jennifer Bockwall and Nicholas Lepensiers. Fuck me. Jennifer Bockwall and Nicholas Lepensiers' documentary film Long Time Running, which premiered at the 2017 Toronto International Film Festival. It was slated to have its television premiere November 2017 on CTV, but following his death, it was moved up to October 20th. Gord Downey died on October 17th, 2017. His death was widely mourned throughout Canada, and Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, who was a fan of the Hip, released a tribute statement on his official website mourning Downey's death. Later in the day, he held a press conference at Parliament Hall which eulogized Downey as our buddy Gord, who loved this country with everything he had, and not just loved it in a nebulous, oh, I love Canada way. He loved every hidden corner, every story, every aspect of this country that he celebrated his whole life. Which I think that's the like most beautiful way to...
It sums it up pretty well.
It sums it up very well. I did have to take out all the ums and likes in that statement, but I got there.
Nice. I remember when he died. I was actually driving up to your house.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we were doing, but I was coming to the frat house, and they was just playing on the radio nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when he died because it was like... I took the second half of school off that day. Let me fucking tell you. I was like, I'm heartbroken about this.
Yeah, I don't know what we were doing, but we were doing something together. But
yeah.
I remember I was driving up to your house.
Yeah, fuck. I don't even remember what it would have been.
No. Probably doing nothing.
Probably doing nothing.
Yeah, more than likely.
Probably smoking weed and listening to music.
Playing pool. Yeah.
Playing pool.
Yeah.
These are things that we did very often. Okay, so last thing I'll say about the artist. At the Juno Awards of 2021, surviving members of the Hip performed their 2002 single, It's a Good Life If You Don't Weaken, with Feist on lead vocals. Or Feist. Feist.
I think it's Feist.
I'm fucking dyslexic, dude.
1, 2, 3, 4. Spencer can't read no more. 5, 6.
I
7,
never have been
8.
able to. I'm
He
fucking
is
dyslexic.
Oh, he writes the documents out, but he can't get the words out of his mouth. Oh, he's angry again.
Whoa.
Okay.
That was a really good song by me, actually.
With Feist on lead vocals.
I took in the spirit of Gord for that.
It marked the band's first television performance since Downey's death. In a promotional interview on CBC Radio's Q before the ceremony, the band stated that they agreed to perform specifically because Feist had been proposed as the vocalist. With them stating, Okay, so it's not just going to be some guy trying to sing like Gord okay, so it's not going to be like some guy trying to sing like Gord or some guy trying not to sing like Gord. It was a no until Feist came up. The band also received the Juno Humanitarian Award at the ceremony for their history of philanthropic work in Canada. Fuck off. Now I'm overthinking it.
I didn't even say anything, dude.
You smiled, you son of a bitch.
Sorry, I'm happy. All right, shall we get into the
notable tracks and singles?
Yes.
All right, Courage for Hugh McLean, 50 Mission Cap, fully completely at the 100th Meridian, Locked in the Trunk of a Car, and Wheat Kings.
Nice.
All fucking bangers. Funny enough, Wheat Kings in the last, I would say, 10 years has gotten more airplay than any of the other songs in the album.
Gets a lot of airplay.
Gets a lot of airplay, and on a lot of different radio stations too. Like you'll hear it on. I'm not kidding. When I worked on the Barbecues Galore delivery truck, we would listen to like CJ. X and like usually like Jack, right?
I listen to Jack. Yeah, we used to listen to Jack. At
yeah,
work, yeah.
And so we would cycle between them when commercials would come up. And there was one day where I swear to God it was on all 3 fucking stations, and I was like, "That's insane."
Yeah, they used to play Courage a lot more, but now I mostly hear that. You hear Bob Cajun a lot. You hear New Orleans is Sinking a lot on CJ. They play that a lot.
Okay, so reception, all music aggregate score. It sits at a 4.5 out of 5. It
rating.
was number 1 on the Canadian album charts, number 40 on the U.S. Billboard Heat Seekers, and the Tragically Hip and their label MCA had high expectations for the U.S. release of Fully Completely. Gord Sinclair described in an interview that the band were still holding out for the equivalent American success. The success, however, did not happen, and MCA stopped American promotion of Fully Completely after just 2 weeks. Its success in Canada, however, was unquestionable. It reached number 1 on every single chart. And the album is listed at number 5 on the top 100 Canadian albums by Bob Meziroux and number 9 on the top 102 modern rock albums of all time by 102 The Edge.
Nice.
I would agree with
I
that.
think 102 The Edge is in Edmonton.
It's in Toronto.
Oh, is it?
It's in Toronto. It has simulcasts across Canada, though. Because like most radio stations in Canada now, they have DJs in one market, and they just fucking pump it out across the whole country. AMP 90.9 in Calgary. That's what they do.
Right.
They're the morning show across Canada.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. Same with, what's it called? X92.9. Their morning show is the afternoon show in Regina.
Oh.
Which I think is funny.
That's good to know, yeah.
Okay, so every episode we review the album. We rate it. We rate it out of 10. We rate it out of technical, musical, lyrical, album art, reception, and does it hold up?
All right.
Let's jump into this bad boy bitch ass piece. Okay. Technical. Oh, fuck, I'm starting? Oh, shit, okay.
You can.
Okay. Well, I would say this album... Okay. I do think that it's mixed... It is mixed better than their first 3 records. Like, their EP and their 2 studio albums. I think it's mixed better because, like we mentioned before, they were layering. They weren't just recording everything all at once. I think that it shows up, though, that they had a full 3 days to work on the vocals. I know that online it said they only had 3 days to work on vocals, but that's also considering that Gord has probably wrote the songs before getting into the studio and is making minor adjustments.
Do you find that he can be drowned out a little bit at some points?
I think at some points, but I feel like that's across their entire discography.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not like a unique thing to the sound, but I did notice he did get drowned out at some points on the album. Nautical
Disaster, like on their next album, I think is the most evident of him getting drowned out. Like just specifically where like I had to read the lyrics of that when I was in high school to understand what a lot of it was because of the fact that he was getting drowned out. I do agree with you. I think that he gets drowned out on almost everything, which is pretty unfortunate. Biggest one where you can notice his vocals is Wheat Kings because it's so stripped down. It's 3 instruments. That's it. And it's acoustic. Now, I would probably rate it. I'm going to go an 8.5 out of 10 for technical element.
I'm gonna come in closer to a 7, I think.
Okay.
Just for the drowning out thing is something I mentioned, but I think there's certain moments that the guitar sound really good.
Yeah.
I give it that. The whatever the Vortex guitar,
Yeah.
that technique. The guitars sound uniquely distinct on this album. You can hear them very clearly. But I'm going to come more in at a 7. I think there's probably more they could do with Gord's voice.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it shines really. Obviously, it's an acoustic track, but through Wheat Kings, it shines.
Yeah.
And he's got an awesome voice. It's very unique. His tone of voice is very unique. The way he sings is very unique, and it does. You do lose it in certain points on the album.
At the 100th Meridian is where I would say is like it drowns out quite a bit during the verses.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the chorus. In the chorus, you hear them fine. But I've noticed that something across all hip songs is that the chorus is always the most clear for his vocals.
Yeah.
But it's where he's usually saying the least about whatever the topic is that they're talking about in the song. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're at a 7.75. Musically, what would you rate this?
I'm going to go higher on it. I'm going to go about an 8.5. Yeah, I think they're supremely talented.
Yeah. I would agree. I think that and also the fact that they have two guitarists that complement each other, and it doesn't feel like they're trying to big dick each other on the whole album. It seems like it's really been worked out well beforehand. It's funny because the drumming is something that I don't think gets a lot of recognition in Tragically Hip work, but I think the drums really shine through on this album. I
think what I like about them too is they do punchy, harder rock tracks really well, but then they can also soften it down.
Yeah,
and they both shine. Their musical talent shines in both aspects.
Yeah,
but when they're punchy, they're really punchy.
They're really punchy.
Yeah, I give that to them. They're really, really great on the faster paced tracks.
And it's funny too because it wasn't until later that they really moved away from the bluesy sound, but you can already hear that they're getting a little more hard rocky in this. Yeah. They're getting a lot heavier at this moment. Lyrically, I'd rate this fucking very high. I'm gonna fucking pull a Canadian card and say, you know what? I'm giving the lyrics a 10. I'm giving the lyrics a 10.
I'm going to come in at a 9.
You're going to come in at a 9?
Yes,
all right.
Yes, just to balance the rating a little bit.
All right, so we're at an 8.5 right now. Album art, the album art is fucking amazing.
It is cool,
on this album.
It is really cool.
And finding out that it's 30 images that are pasted together and it was through a photocopier and a bunch of shit. I don't know, everything about that seems super interesting. So yeah, I'd probably rate the album art very high. I'd say a 9. I'm going with a 9. It's recognizable too. That's the other thing.
Well, not only was it through a photocopy, it was through a Canon.
Yeah.
And there's only one worse photocopier or printer than a Canon. It's a Brother. So, working in offices, I know fucking printers. Canons suck, but Brothers are worse.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in at 8.5 on it. It's a cool album cover. It's very unique. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Habitual del Ritual or whatever.
Yeah.
Habitual. Similar sort of style, the cut-up pieces. The different, is. Yeah.
That's a really good point. And when did that one come out? Was that 90?
Yeah, 90. I don't know. I don't remember.
I think it was 90.
It was a long time.
It was either 90 or 92. I remember
similar.
It was an even number.
Yeah.
I know that.
It was similar.
Very similar, yeah. I'm going to be so wrong and someone's going to be like, that was 93.
It might have been 94.
Yeah, it might have been.
Young Jamie, please.
But I do agree with you. I think that there's a lot of similarity there. And I don't remember what we rated that one, but it's not nearly as cool as this one. I will say.
No. I'm an 8. I'm gonna go an 8 on it.
All right, so we're at an 8.75 right now. Reception, well received in Canada.
Yep. This is where I think they're gonna have to lose marks.
Yeah,
because they set out this album with a purpose of gaining traction in the U.S. and they did not achieve it. It doesn't make it a bad album.
No, but I agree with you, and I also think it's shitty that they only gave 2 weeks of promotion for it, because I feel like. And this is a personal opinion here, but I feel like what they could have done is given a little more time on promotion, because what would have ended up happening, they were still unknown. You give 2 weeks notice of promotion for a band like AC/DC or Metallica, who they already are fucking well known, and if in 2 weeks they're not selling records, the record fucking sucks, and that's why you quit promoting it then. But you don't do that for an unknown.
Yeah, but
you pump out a little bit more.
You're not wrong on that too, because there's a weird thing. It does happen often, mostly in the pop scene, but where a song could have been released like 8 months before or a year before, and then it gains traction.
Yeah.
So that does happen. But I don't know how much in the rock scene, but it can happen for bands.
Dude, we're seeing it right now. There's a song that went super viral on TikTok, and Siobhan and I were listening to it, and we're like we'd been listening to it for a while, and we were like, this is a great song. And then we were listening to the radio when we were on the island, and they were like, yeah, that song was actually recorded and released in 2012 and everything. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And the guy had no record success.
Well, that's like
before
now
that.
we talked about it before with fucking TikTok, but I love that song "Time Moves Slow." I don't know that one.
Yeah,
"Time Moves Slow." I forget who sings it, but I've been listening to that for a while, and then it fucking suddenly got popular. I heard it on the fucking radio. Yeah, I was like, holy shit.
So reception, I'd have to go way lower.
I think I gotta go like a 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say a 4.
Yeah.
So we're right now. Whole album is sitting at a 7.75. Does it hold up?
I think so. Yes.
I'd say yeah.
I think nostalgia wise, 100%. You get the nostalgia factor. I mean, these are the songs that people our age would listen to when their parents turn on the radio and you're on a road trip. These are the handful of these songs would come up on the radio station like we talked about. They still do today, but
and also I would say this: they have a sound that I would argue is timeless in a way, because what I didn't realize is that songs like 38 Years Old were from the fucking 80s.
I didn't realize that either. That was news to me as well when you said that today.
So it's like I feel like because of how they sound and because of this album, this album, again, I thought that Wheat Kings was from like 2005 or 2006. I had no fucking clue that it was from 1992. You know, so yeah, 7.75 out of 10.
I think that's a really fair rating.
I think that's a really fair rating.
I do.
All right, well, it's been another episode of Misfits on Vinyl. Anal contusions.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Misfits on Vinyl, hosted by Spencer Streichert and me, Aaron Walsh, and of course produced by Sam the Tech Man, Sam Lindsay. If you like us, please rate us, subscribe to us, share us. Our socials are Misfits on Vinyl Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to send us an email with any suggestions or criticisms, we love that shit, so send it away. It's misfitsonvinyl@gmail.com. We love you guys. Thank you.